You're listening to Revenge of the Drive-In, the podcast where Jim and Patrick watch and discuss a drive-in double feature consisting of horror films, spy films, exploitation movies, erotic thrillers, sex comedies, and the like. Our ultimate goal is to determine if these two movies, randomly selected from a list of over 1,600, would make for a good drive-in double feature. We will be going through the plots of these movies in detail, so if you're concerned about spoilers, feel free to check them out before listening to us, and we'll be sure to point out if and when these films are available on various streaming services. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for any updates. That's at Drive-In Podcast, no underscores, hyphens, or spaces. And let's get started. I'm your host, Patrick, and I'm joined by...
Jim.
All right, Jim, we're doing something different. We're recapping our first season, our first 19 episodes. That's 38 movies. And we're going to be talking about our best, our picks for our best, our picks for our worst, our picks for our favorite kills, our favorite musical moments, if you will. Because we had a shocking amount of music, like original songs and stuff. We only did one musical, but it almost felt like we did more than that.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off with our least favorite movies. And I don't know, maybe you could have done a bottom 10 here. I only really had 4 that I disliked. I had kind of trouble picking that 5th one. It was a toss-up between a bunch of movies either that like weren't very good but I kind of enjoyed, or a couple movies that are very good but I don't enjoy watching that much.
Well, my top 5 bottoms were Pam Grier in The Big Dollhouse coming in at 5,
no.
Ginger Lynn, Dr. Alien, Linnea Quigley.
Dr. Alien.
Yeah.
Linnea Quigley.
Yeah, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Every Woman in Killer Workout. And number 1, I think you'd
Kirsty
agree.
Baker.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Friday the 13th part 2, okay. Well then, my number 5 least favorite movie was a movie that I actually kind of liked, and I know you didn't, but my number 5 is Puppet Master. Not the best movie. I kind of like the opening, and I like the puppet mayhem that we get at the end, and it kind of feels like the rest of the movie is just wasting time a little bit. There's not much plot. There needed to have been more plot. There needed to have been more puppets.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said when you introduced this category that there were only like a few that you actually didn't like, because I only had about 3 that I did not like, and
this was one of them, though.
Yes, and this was one of them. This was number 3 on my list.
Number 3, okay.
My number 5, Picasso Trigger.
Oh, my number 2.
Wow, I think you're going to be surprised when we get a little higher up the list, but
I thought this was going to be way higher for you.
Well, first off, actually, just let me talk about Puppet Master for a second. Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said. For me, I guess at the end of it, it was just kind of silly. And I would have liked cooler puppet kills, I guess. My 2 favorite characters in it were those sex-crazed scientists. But everybody else was just like boring and bland and stupid.
Scientists, they're like mediums.
Oh yeah, those people, yeah. Well, they were doing
it's like
weird...
the opposite of a scientist.
Yeah, fake scientist. But anyways, yes, I agree with you on Puppet Master. But yeah, Picasso Trigger, for me, number 5, I don't even want to call it generic, because really it wasn't, but it was just boring. Like, it was kind of a sad excuse for an action movie. It was just tits, mediocre action.
Yes, yeah, the action wasn't spectacular. The movie didn't have a whole lot of personality, I think.
Not as much as personality as some of those women, let me tell you.
Yeah, no, we had 2 big personalities on every woman on screen, that's true. I think you and I both agreed it should have probably been a bit more tongue-in-cheek, a bit more comedic than it was. It was just, I don't know, it's not my favorite Andy Sidaris movie.
I think that's the only one I've ever seen, so, I'm really going to go in with low expectations next time.
All right, so my number 4 least favorite was a movie that I know you liked.
Uh-oh.
And that's The Strangers.
Oh, see, I figured that would have made it to your list.
For me, it's just that the characters didn't work. You understood the relationship between the two of them early on pretty well, actually. They did a lot of non-vocal communication there. And then you're just kind of stuck with them for like 80 minutes. It's just like, at a certain point, the characters didn't matter. Home invasion movies tend to not have the most compelling plots, that's true. But I don't know, there's some relatively effective scares. It's a good jump scare movie. Just not really a good character movie or compelling for too many other reasons.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
All right, what's your number 4?
You might not like this. You might not appreciate this. I put Spider Baby for number 4.
I was worried this would be in your bottom 5.
Yeah, and you know what,
this is a movie that I remember liking, and I remember you weren't big on. It's not my favorite. It's not in my top 10 or anything, but, this is disappointing.
Yeah, well, I was actually thinking about you when I wrote it down on the list. But I got to tell you, Patrick, I actually almost didn't include this on the list. Because, again, there were only 3 movies that I really didn't like. But the only reason it's here is just because it's a strange movie that I didn't vibe with. I appreciate it for what it is. I just didn't like it that much. I mean, there's really...
You prefer your Jack Hill films to have Pam Grier in them.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
All right, so my number 3, we're going Silent Hill.
Ooh.
I know you liked it more than me, but I don't remember you being passionate about this one.
Well, Patrick, let me tell you, it's number 2 on my list.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
All right, and we already got your number 3, so
exactly,
we can get into this then. Far too long for the movie it was. The Sean Bean stuff, they kept cutting back to him. The movie didn't need him at all. He was just distracting from you getting sucked into the world that is the Silent Hill, ash snowing, whatever dimension that is or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a complete waste of time. Some fun monsters-ish, but I just didn't enjoy it a whole lot.
Looking back on it, I think it's a great video game movie. As in, it's a great movie that fans of the video game will appreciate. I mean, you got the characters, you got the monsters, you got the setting. But to understand it, I think, to truly get it and enjoy it, you have to know the games inside and out. And I'm not somebody like that. So for me...
That's exactly what you said during our episode on it. I spent hours editing that, and this is like a repeat of what you said.
Well, there you go. There you go.
So your views have not changed.
I mean, again, I think it's a great video game movie. It's just not... I don't know. It's just not for me.
All right, so your number 3 was Puppet Master.
It was, yeah.
And my number 2 was Picasso Trigger. Your number 2 is Silent Hill. And so that means you and I have the same number 1. It's Screwballs.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
this. I didn't need to confirm this. And just, I guess, to point out, you and I have not discussed these lists ahead of time.
Yeah.
Screwballs was a pretty obvious number 1. I think you and I hated this movie.
Yeah, it was just utter shit, is what it was.
It was, I mean, when you boil it down, it's a sex comedy, and, okay, some of those, I mean, it tends to not be my favorite genre, of course, but you need some structure. There wasn't any structure. And I complained that all of the humor, basically every single bit of humor, came from sex in that movie. And it's like, that's not how you write a movie.
Yeah, I mean, because it's just too much after a certain point. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. I get the shtick. Okay, I get it. Let's move on. Come on. It's just like a tiring movie to sit through just because it's so fucking awful.
As I said when we did that one, we'll probably see worse in the future.
Oh no,
maybe not. I doubt the worst is behind us, but if it is, I mean, that's not bad. If the next worst movie we see is Picasso Trigger or Silent Hill, I find that hard to believe, because we've got Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2 coming up at some point, I'm sure.
Oh no.
All right, so we are going to do our list of our best first watches now. These are movies that I shouldn't say neither, but because these are separate lists, but these are movies that I hadn't seen before doing this podcast. These are new discoveries. There were only about 4 or 5 of these total for me, so I only have a top 2 because there were only 2 of them I really enjoyed. Jim, do you have a top 10? You were telling me there were like 19 of these you hadn't seen before?
Yeah, so I think at one point when we discussed this, because I made the point that I hadn't seen 19 of the movies, so literally half of the movies that we've done. So I can rattle through my 10 to 6 pretty quickly if you want.
All right, what's your number 10?
Hatchet for the Honeymoon.
Well, shit, this is my number 1.
Oh my God, really?
Way to throw this off. Well, because there were only 2, so this was, I liked this movie. I didn't love it, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I went into it with literally no expectations, as I go into most of the movies that are on our list. You said something in the episode that we recorded about, at one point, actually feeling tense or tensing up at that scene where he murders his wife and the
where she's
police officer comes in.
On the stairs,
yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, that was so great. And I don't know, there are just lots of things about it I liked. The shots, the goofy Italianness of it, that it was filmed in
it's got
Franco's
that classic
villa.
Italian Mario Bava cinematography, that classic awkward Italian dubbing. There's a lot to like there. It's not a masterpiece, but it's good.
Yeah.
All right, what's your 9?
Game of Death.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I had seen this movie before, so this was not eligible for my list.
Yeah,
but it's a fun ride.
Exactly, exactly, and that's why it's on here. It's a super fun ride, super stupid, super fun. Bonus points for having actual Bruce Lee dead in the movie. That was pretty cool.
Bonus points for inventing Photoshop as well.
yeah, with cardboard cutouts. Number 8. Hush. I know that's like...
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I know that's a movie
I didn't think you liked this one that much.
In preparation for this, I went back and kind of like skimmed through most of the movies, and I have found a new spot for Hush in my heart.
Good, because I love Hush. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, Hush is great. I really enjoyed going back and rewatching it the other day, so that was fun. 7, Shocker.
All right.
A fun
Shocker's
little...
a lot of fun.
Yeah. Fun movie. 6, Sleepaway Camp. You told me to go into it with no expectations.
I'm shocked this is only 6. I'm shocked this isn't higher.
Well, I think you're forgetting the one movie I haven't seen. Anyways, yeah, but Sleepaway Camp...
I mean, Dr. Alien's in the top 5. I can tell that already.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Sleepaway Camp was something else.
My favorite part about Sleepaway Camp, though, was, again, I went back and rewatched it. All the dumb deaths, like when the people get run over in the beginning by the boating teenagers who are just like not looking, or the cook who gets burned alive.
Oh, that one's a classic.
Yeah, great death though in that, which elevated it for me, was the old man getting the arrow through the neck.
Yeah.
So
no, I was gonna say I like the guy that can't figure out how to get under a stall to avoid getting murdered by bees.
It's great. Yeah.
I'm assuming. My number 2 could still be in your top 5, but I'd be kind of surprised if it were. But keep going.
For me, 5, It, The Terror from Beyond Space.
Oh.
I really liked it. I've watched
you really
it.
liked it!
Yeah. It's like an episode of Star Trek, just a little longer. And I love it. I don't know. It's
and
just
less
great.
of a budget, probably.
Yeah. 4 is Ready or Not. Really enjoyed it.
I forgot you hadn't seen that one before, because that's a recent movie. I kind of assumed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ready or Not's a good movie.
Yeah, I told everybody I know about that movie. Because, it's not like I'm not going to tell everybody about it. Yeah, but I'll say, hey, if you want to watch a movie, watch Ready or Not.
You have to be someone that tolerates a certain type of movie to watch It, The Terror from Beyond Space. Like, you have to accept a certain amount of cheese. I do agree. I think Ready or Not, kind of something for everybody in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. It's not really scary, but it's tense. It's got horror. It's got satire. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff there.
Yeah, all around a pretty solid movie. 3, Dr. Alien. You were right.
Okay.
Definitely up there. Loved it.
Don't you feel embarrassed saying that?
I do, yeah, I do.
At number
Well, the hard thing about this was I was looking at the list and I was like, should I put Ready or Not above it? And then I was like, I've seen Ready or Not like 4 times now. I'm going to put Dr. Alien above it.
Dr. Alien is... Again, I saw it for the first time not long before we started this podcast. So it's still relatively new for me, but it was like unearthing a gem. When I saw it, I was like, why aren't more people talking about this movie? Because it's just so weird and so stupid, but like entertaining.
Yeah.
Entertainingly stupid.
Yeah, and that's why it's so high on this list. It's entertainingly stupid, and it just kind of fits that perfect, like, sit back, relax, watch something enjoyable and silly. For me, number 2, Phantasm. Never seen it.
Yeah, I knew this was coming high on your list because you loved this one.
Yeah, I do. I loved it. I'd always heard about it, and I heard about it being a cult classic.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when I saw it, I was blown away by how interesting it was. I loved the whole kind of like little world they have built up in it, and all the characters are great, except for the kid. He's kind of annoying, but...
He's your fine, plucky, 13, 14-year-old kid. He's fine.
Yeah, I do like his jean jacket, so I will say that, and his dirt bike.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And I love his car. It's his brother's car, but... Maybe it's his because, spoiler alert, the brother's dead throughout the entire movie. So, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know whose car it is. It's been repossessed or something. But, yeah, it's a Hemi Cuda.
All
right, so hit me with that number 1.
I think you might know what it is. It's Audition.
I actually... Audition.
Okay. Sorry to cut you off.
No. I was going to say I wasn't sure. Now that you say Audition, sure, I wouldn't have necessarily thought you'd put Audition above Phantasm, but, like... Process of elimination, that's not in the top 10 yet. Yeah, I should have known Audition was coming.
I don't know what's up with me right now, but I'm super into like Japanese stuff right now. And it started around the time that you made me watch Audition. And dude, I was just blown away by everything in the movie. I was blown away by...
Don't tell me you watch anime now.
No. I'm not a loser. Take that, fans who watch anime. No, but yeah, it's great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was amazing.
Is Audition the most unique movie you've ever seen? Because it's up there for me.
Unique.
Like there is no other movie that I've seen that's like Audition.
When you say it like that, yes, there's no other movie that I've seen that's like Audition. So it's truly unique.
I've definitely seen other movies that change genres, but never in that extreme of a way.
No, and the thing about Audition, too, was it kind of starts off like a conventional horror thriller sort of thing, and then by the end...
Not horror.
I guess I should have said, it just starts off like a normal movie.
Absolutely.
And then by the end of it, you're like, what the fuck? You know?
Oh, yeah.
And then halfway through, there's all kinds of crazy dream sequence things that you don't know if they're dreams or reality or what's going on. And
yeah, the last 20 or so minutes of Audition, well, they'll be expanded upon when we get to our favorite scenes section of this episode, I'm sure, at least for me.
But what's your number one?
My number one, by process of elimination... It's not Picasso Trigger, it's not Silent Hill, because those are movies that I hadn't seen before that made my bottom 5. And I think this might be the only other new movie that I had seen for this podcast, and it's The Big Dollhouse.
Oh, okay.
That's my number 2.
Yeah.
I liked Hatchet. I think Hatchet for the Honeymoon is a little bit better, and I guess you agree because that made your top 10. The Big Dollhouse didn't.
Yeah.
But you did enjoy The Big Dollhouse. You even seem to have enjoyed it a bit more than me. But
yeah, well, 'cause it's another example of one of those movies where I don't want to bring Tarantino up because we did last time. But what does he call, like, chill movies? I think he calls them, or just like
chill.
Yeah, where you can just like throw it on the TV and like hang out. Hangout movies.
Oh, I would use the term like background movie.
It's something kind of like that, but if you're gonna watch any part of it, like it's all pretty decent stuff, and it's kind of ridiculous.
You watch the cat fight. Pay attention to the cat fight.
Yeah.
That's the scene in the movie. It's a weirdo Filipino movie with a snake in it, and somehow it's not the one movie we saw that killed a real life snake in the movie. I don't know if Filipino movies have a reputation of killing animals the way Italian movies do, but I'm kind of assuming. I don't know. Maybe it's racist for me to assume that. I mean, Italians aren't.
Sorry to all of our Filipino and Italians fans out there.
Italians want to be seen as another race, but they can't be, and that nothing pisses them off more. So this next one we're doing, top 5 non-vocal themes. I.e., and I don't know, I picked it as like all 5 of these are, you could argue they're the theme song of the movie. I mean, it's kind of debatable for maybe a couple of them, but I'm going for like scores, but not necessarily the whole score. I'm looking at one particular track. All right, so Jim, why don't you get us started?
My number 5 is The Tall Man on Main Street in Phantasm by Fred Nero and Malcolm Seagrave.
Because the scene when he's walking down there. Okay, because that song plays a bunch of times throughout the movie. So,
well, that one is actually a slightly different score.
Okay.
Then, like, because it sounds like the main theme for Phantasm, but it's got like a snare drum beat in it or something like that, which is why I picked it over that theme.
Oh yeah, it's a little prog rocky in a way.
And I just really dig it. And that scene, that slow-mo scene where you have the tall man walking down Main Street, really cool, creepy scene, great music. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I've got the Phantasm theme. I didn't go as specific as you did at number 2.
Wow.
I think it's a great track. It's I actually might even slightly prefer they do like a sped up, like more actiony version of it in the like end of Phantasm 2 that I think is great. I love them both for sort of just different moods. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic piece of music. I know I talked about like why don't more people talk about this as one of the all-time classic horror movie themes, the way people talk about Jaws and Halloween and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's genuinely a great sounding theme, and because it's almost got that mix of like what is it, like tubular bells.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like that, and then also a little bit of Halloween in there too, really just because of the piano and the kind of the simplicity of it.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, so give me your number 4.
My number 4 is the Nightmare on Elm Street theme.
This is my number 4.
Oh, no way! Wow. Yeah, it's a great spooky 80s synthy theme, you know? And
Charles Bernstein, to my knowledge, no relation to Elmore or Leonard. I don't know.
What about
not the confident in saying that?
Bernstein Bears or Bernstein?
No relation to the Bears either. That I am confident in saying. But yeah, it's just a really great theme. I think it gets the respect, the credit it deserves. But just that whole, it's listed as like kind of 2 tracks or like a 1 track, but with like a slash through it, and it's like prologue / main title. That entire thing is so great, so moody, so dark, so creepy. Perfect stuff.
My favorite part about that theme is like that, I wouldn't call it vocal, but it's that, I don't even want to do it, but I'm going to. It's the part 2.
Oh, wait, like the background thing. Okay.
Yeah, that to me is so creepy.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just chills me. My number 3 is Game of Death, the Game of Death opening theme by John Barry.
Oh, fuck, I don't even remember this.
Dude,
I remember it was
theme.
John Barry. I don't remember this music.
John Barry Orchestra, same
This
group
was
that
nowhere
James
near
Bond.
my top 5. Maybe I need to go listen to it, though.
Dude, it's such a great opening theme. It sounds like a Bond theme, and it doesn't fit the movie at all. And I'm sure it may have fit the movie, or I'm sure it would have fit the movie if the movie had been filmed the way it was supposed to. But it's just a really cool
Probably
theme.
not, because John Barry probably came in the 78 version. I doubt they had
yeah.
John Barry back in 72.
Yeah, you're probably right. But yeah, it's a great theme. You got to listen to it. It's fucking great.
All right, so my number 3, and I will say my top 3 are all kind of interchangeable. Like I already mentioned, I had Phantasm at 2, but my number 3 is the Godzilla theme.
Holy oh, never mind. Wait,
That's your number 2 then?
Yeah, that's my number 2.
Okay, well, it's fantastic stuff. I love that they brought it back in 2019 with Bear McCreary doing the score for Godzilla King of the Monsters. Very few things get me more hyped than hearing those strings just kind of, I don't know, the song works for me. Similarly in a way to how the movie works for me. It's just fantastic stuff. I love it. I love the entire score. There's a couple other tracks too that I have no idea what they're called, but I like those in the so it's a good score overall.
The movie scored perfectly, but especially that action theme. It just fits the action scenes so well. It almost tenses you up because you see Godzilla wrecking up Tokyo and you're like, oh my god, and then this theme pops in and it just makes you, I don't know, like excited to watch all this destruction.
All right, so that's your 2. My 2 is Phantasm. It looks like we probably have another in common number 1.
We might. How about
right?
you go?
It's the James Bond theme.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, there was competition here. And had I known I probably should have assumed you would put it at 1. But had I known you were putting it at 1, maybe I would have put Phantasm or Godzilla, because those 3 are kind of, love them all relatively equally. But the James Bond theme with that almost like surf rock guitar, it's just
yeah,
it's a surf rock sound almost.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's classic, it's iconic, it's far and away the most famous of the themes that we had. Not that itself is the reason to put it number 1, but it's great.
Yeah, and I mean, as you mentioned in the Dr. No episode, I guess it's Albert R. Broccoli. Is that his name? Is it Broccoli? Whatever.
Yeah, Cubby.
Yeah.
He went by Cubby.
When they were making the movie, you pointed out that they kind of misused the theme a lot. Like, they didn't know what they had. And I agree with
Dr.
you.
No, they used that theme too many times.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. But that doesn't detract from how awesome the theme is. It's just such a great theme.
And if it does, then you can just take it from Russia with Love, because they don't overuse it in that movie.
Oh, exactly,
we did do 2 Bond movies, reminder.
No, it's just great. And I think like that theme, I bet if you asked somebody, like if you walked up on the street and said, can you hum the James Bond theme, somebody would be like, everybody would be able to hum it.
Yeah, I think like the themes that everyone frickin' knows are probably James Bond, Jaws, Indiana Jones, a handful of others maybe.
Okay, so moving on, let's talk about our top 10 scenes, and that could just be like anything, really.
Well, I will say that I did not necessarily tell you to do this, or maybe I did, I can't remember, but we knew we were having a separate category for top 10 kills. So I will say that none of these include a kill that would be in my top 10, because I wanted them to be separate and unique, but I don't know if you'll abide by the same. Okay.
Oh, I did. Don't worry.
Okay. And I would also say, because my number 10 and 9 are both musical performances, but okay. And we do have a top 10 songs, but that's not, again, I'm viewing these as not the quality of the songs so much as just how much I enjoyed this scene. Mm-hmm. And That's worth noting because number 10 is a song I don't enjoy that much. It's the Wooden Heart scene from G.I. Blues, which is the scene where Lou Gehrig's dad's phonograph or his record player stops working. So Elvis says, hey, take that accordion, you play the music, I'll sing, and I'll do it with this puppet, because it's at this puppet show that a bunch of kids are watching, and the kids all sing the German part. And it's just a really fun scene. It just kind of, I don't know, it just fills my heart with joy, that scene, that more than any other scene in that movie, even though it's one of my least favorite songs on the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's like a really cute scene, and it's kind of almost like a cute date scene from like a modern rom-com or something, you know?
Just to clarify, because I did mention the kids, Elvis is not dating the kids. Just for you listeners who didn't catch that episode.
He's also not abusing them like he does to the baby at the end of the movie.
Okay, yeah. If we had a top 10 worst scenes, that's number one. I hate that the last 20 minutes with the baby. But, oh yeah, anyways. Yeah, so that's my pick for number 10. What's yours?
My number 10 is the chase scene through the TV in Shocker.
Oh, I think this was like my number 11. I had to, this almost made my top 10.
You know what, I changed it around. This was my number 11, but I've just changed it around at the last moment. But yeah, I think this is a great scene. Really fun and goofy. And really goofy for a movie that plays it pretty straight throughout most of it, except for like a few scenes.
Yeah, like the kid being possessed was a very goofy moment.
No.
But I agree for the most part.
That's played really straight. What are you talking about? With the limp?
No, but I agree. Part of the joy of watching Shocker is how just the tonal whiplash you go through, where it's just like, when it wants to be a serious, brutal movie, it is. When it wants to be an all-out farce, it's also that, and it's just, your brain doesn't know what to make of it.
Yeah, but I mean, this scene, for me, this scene kind of made the movie. It was just great. I mean, I liked, what was his name, Mitch Pileggi throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you're an X-Files guy. I never saw X-Files.
Yeah, but no, this is just a great scene.
All right, so my number 9, another musical performance, and it's the Sex Mutants playing the song Killer Machine from Dr. Alien.
Yeah.
This one, not a whole lot to say about it. It's just fun and stupid. Yeah, the song is fun in its own, like, heavy metal, kind of almost punk rock kind of way. But, I mean, it's a dumb scene. It's a dumb movie. I don't have a whole lot to say about it.
You know, you're right. Dumb scene, dumb movie, but it's definitely a fun scene. And that scene also
I was
comes
waiting
out
for you
of
to say,
nowhere.
and it's like, and it's my number 2.
No. But that scene also comes out of nowhere, you know? I don't even remember the main character's name, but he's like, hey, come to the bar and watch my band play.
Wesley Littlejohn.
Oh, that's it, yeah. Little John, yeah. Great pick. Well, my number 9 is something completely different from that. It is the scene where Bond kills Professor Dent in Dr. No.
Okay, that is the best scene of Dr. No. I definitely remember saying that. Other than maybe when the spider is on the glass. That's fun too.
Yeah, that's number 1. This scene made the list because this is the first time we see in Dr. No how competent Bond is and how cold and calculated he can be too. There's the great line where after Dent comes in, empties his clip at the pillow James Bond in bed. Bond is questioning him and then Dent tries to shoot him again, but his gun is empty, right? And Bond replies with, that's a Smith & Wesson and you've had your 6. And he just like plugs him twice and kills him. It was so cool.
Yeah, it's the best scene in the movie. But honestly, not that close to my top 10. But that, we had some good movies. So my number 8 is a bit of a random one. This is the shortest scene in my top 10. It is the flashback to Dolomite being arrested from the film Dolomite. This is, it's like a minute and a half. It's 2 minutes because it's during a scene of exposition when the warden is talking to him, and is it like Mama B or something?
Yeah,
Queen
something
B?
like that. Queen Bee, yeah.
It's a name like that. Anyways, we see Dolomite get arrested. Where they find coke in his trunk, and he gets very angry. You're gonna have to take me. And then some of the worst kung fu fighting you've ever seen, where actors are very clearly forcing themselves to fall over when Dolomite somewhat hits them. It's great stuff. It was my favorite moment of the Dolomite movie. I don't know if it was yours, but I really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah, that's honestly one of my favorite scenes from that movie, and it's just so stupid. And I also like that it wasn't even just coke that they found in his car. It was stolen furs and coke. He's like,
oh, and then
those
another
ain't
part
mine.
too, when they find it, his reaction is just, that shit ain't mine. And I'm like, I just love the way he says that. Again, every line delivery from Rudy Ray Moore in that movie is just incredible. It's just so funny.
My number 8, it's all of the workout scenes in Killer Workout.
Oh, Jesus.
These
would have been in my bottom 10 again.
Just so
not
stupid.
not as bad as The Baby.
Yeah, I mean, and totally take up like 10 to 15 minutes of the movie. All these workout scenes, and it's just so
they
stupid.
don't really, but
no, it feels like it though.
It kind of does.
Yeah, yeah. I just like laughing at them, and that's why they're on my list.
They are funny. I'll give you that. My number 7 is from A Nightmare on Elm Street when Tina shows up in a body bag when Nancy's at school. This is starting really with the kid reading the speech, the Shakespeare speech, and he starts going to a whisper. Everything from that, even though I don't like the hall pass part, we discussed that.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about that body bag just sliding across the floor, it's just so creepy. It's my favorite scene from a movie that I really, really, really like, so I kind of had to find room for it in the top 10. I don't know if this is the right spot, the right number, but...
I have to agree with you how great it is, because that's my number 3.
All right.
I really enjoy it, especially from that part where that kid starts reading Shakespeare up till that dumb hall pass bit. But just a great scene. It's terrifying, actually. That's another scene where they did the...
It's unsettling.
It is, yeah. And they also did that switch between the dream world and reality very well.
Yes. That's probably the most effective kind of transition in that movie. All right, so what's your number 7?
All of the Bruce Lee fight scenes. Now, I was going to pick a specific scene, like a specific Bruce Lee fight from Game of Death, but I just thought I'd lump them all in together. It's, in that movie, that's what people really wanted to see. That's what everybody who goes to see a Bruce Lee
I think
movie...
they wanted to see Bruce Lee's funeral.
Yeah. I'll tell you who didn't want to see it, the Bruce Lee estate. Yeah, it's like a great 3 fights. It's just so cool. Bruce Lee is so cool. Yeah, I don't have to say much else. It's just super cool.
Yeah, this is my number 4, although I did specifically pick the Bruce Lee and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fight, but really, I mean, it is the 3 fights consecutively. The Kareem one would have been my favorite of the 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, great stuff. And it really makes you realize what you've been missing out on, the previous hour or so of the movie. We've had good action, but not quite that good. All right, so my number 6 is another fight scene. James Bond versus Red Grant aboard the Orient Express from Russia with Love.
Yeah, great scene.
It's just so much fun. This is the scene more than any other scene in From Russia with Love that really makes you think, like, this was only a year later than Dr. No.
Yeah.
This is by the same director as Dr. No. This is so much more fluid than any of the action in Dr. No. There isn't much action in Dr. No, but like this scene, it's intense, it's fast-paced, it looks like people are actually hitting each other. It's probably stuntmen throughout most of the scene because we have the lights off for most of it, but it's a really good fight scene. It's one of my favorites in all of film, really.
Yeah, and I think the thing that makes it so interesting is that they're kind of stuck in one tiny cab, or like one tiny...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the trains are not incredibly spacious.
Yeah.
Even if they're in the hallway, there's not much room, and there's not much room in the cab, and yeah.
And this is also a scene where Bond makes use of some of his secret agent gadgets, which...
I was about to say that, yeah, this is because every Bond movie, other than Dr. No, here's this gadget thing that you probably don't need, but maybe you'll need to use it during a fight scene with Red Grant. And I don't know, maybe it's just because it's the first time we see that, but to me it's one of the most satisfying like reincorporation bits in the series.
Mm-hmm. I even like how that scene begins where Bond is suspicious of Red Grant because he says, "You ordered fish," or "You ordered red wine with fish."
Oh, that seems dumb. I actually don't like that because I
like that a lot.
Well, I mean, I kind of like it because it's Bond gets a chance to be a fucking snob about things, but like really, if that was truly what tipped Bond off, I think he's just kind of saying that now that he's caught. But if that's really what tipped Bond off, and like, oh god, then Red Grant's an idiot,
Yeah.
But then again, Red Grant does have the upper hand, so I think Bond is just kind of saying that, like, oh, I should have known.
Yeah, I think Red Grant has the upper hand in almost all of their interactions.
He does. He absolutely does.
And Bond is like, you're not a true gentleman, idiot. Yeah.
All right, so what's your 6?
Well, my 6 is also another fight scene, and that's the locker room fight scene from Game of Death.
You had this above the actual Bruce Lee fights?
I did, yeah, because I really...
You fucking monster.
I just really enjoyed it. There was something about it. I just thought the fighting was really cool. There's that awesome flip that he does.
That might be the coolest little moment in that. I agree with that. That moment's great. And this was a great fight scene. This is the best, for me, this was the best non-Bruce Lee fight in the movie. I don't think we spent that much time on it when we did our podcast. I think we probably spent more time on the motorcycle scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one's great.
Yeah, and I mean, and this scene blows all the other non-Bruce Lee fight scenes out of the movie. And for me, the Bruce Lee fight scenes, yeah, there was just something about it. It was almost like, I don't know, I can't even describe it. It was just really cool. It was like what I wanted to see out of like a kung fu movie.
My number 5 is I guess you could call it a guilty pleasure scene, because this is, well, I guess Killer Machine was really my first guilty pleasure scene in this list. But this is a scene that is by no means good, but just kind of like, because of the movie it's in, and because it's so different from the rest of the movie, it's great. And that is the work montage scene in Silent Night, Deadly Night.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's so incredible. This is the montage to end all montages, and it's played out like it's an intro to an 80s sitcom, like a family values type 80s sitcom. Yeah. And it's got this wholesome song that, if you listen to the entirety of the song, it is a Christmas song. I don't think you really get that vibe from the scene because you don't hear all of the song. And it's just in the middle of this movie about a guy losing his mind and murdering people when he dresses up as Santa Claus. Like, the juxtaposition there is just incredible.
Yeah, I agree. It's the juxtaposition is incredible. Yeah, it's a great scene. It didn't make my my top 10, but it's a great little scene in that movie. My 5 is taking the bandages off in The Invisible Man.
Okay, this was not in my top 10, but this is a very good pick. I like this.
I mean, I like the whole kind of little lead up to the scene where they call the constable in. I love Claude Rains, his acting in it, and his kind of maniacal laughter and the running around the room. Also, the special effects for this era, absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it all just kind of leads to a creepy scene where you see him beginning to unmask himself, and you kind of see how weird he looks without his hat on. He's got the hair sticking out, he takes his glasses off, and you realize that there's just nothing there. And then that leads into another great scene, the causing havoc in the village.
Yeah, if you lump those all together, which I'll let you do, because we play by our own rules here. But yeah, that whole, because it's funny too. You didn't mention how funny this whole bit is.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Where they're what did the constable say? How am I supposed to cuff a shirt?
Oh yeah, no, I was thinking more when he steals the old man's hat and steals a guy's bicycle and rides it a couple meters and then just throws it to the ground. I was thinking more of that stuff, but yeah.
That's great. Yeah, it's a great little scene.
All right, so I already mentioned my number 4 was Bruce Lee versus Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a.k.a. Lou Alcindor, a.k.a. Hakim, I think is his character's name in the movie. So what's your number 4?
Godzilla destroying Tokyo for the first time, I guess, which might be...
Oh, fuck you. Time. This is my number 1.
Oh, see, I have Godzilla destroying Tokyo and Jet
hang
Fight.
On. We might actually be talking about different scenes. I'm talking about the longest destruction scene, which is probably what you're talking about, when he takes out the train... It's after they try and get him with the big telephone poles. I'm talking that scene. That's my number.
Yes, that's my that's my number 4. And you also get like the jet fight in there where they have like the jets on like on the fishing line and they're shooting rockets at him.
Yeah, when he's wading through the bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some really great miniature work, some really not that great miniature work here and there. Like the cars never look very good. But just, it's great. I mean, there's something absurdly satisfying about seeing somebody in a rubber monster costume go just stomp on a city with all these miniature buildings. And in black and white, it's convincing enough. It gets more and more ridiculous as the series goes on, into the 70s, and you're going pure schlock with the Godzilla movies. But this stuff, it's all played straight. It's terrifying in its own way, and it's not dissimilar from Kong going through the city in New York in the original King Kong, when he throws a woman out of a building and he steals Fay Ray, and then he also messes with the train in that one too. So
I'm just amazed at how well most or pretty much all of the destruction was done. Like there's a scene where he steps on a bridge and you can see like the bridge crack and start to crumble. Like,
that's great.
Just the attention to detail there is amazing.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, it's my number one. It was actually a last minute change to move it to number one, but...
I'm looking at my 3, which was the body bag scene from A Nightmare on Elm Street, and maybe I should have switched those around.
Well, too late. And my number 3 is another guilty pleasure scene. It's my most enjoyable guilty pleasure scene of the season. My number 3 is the baseball scene from Sleepaway Camp. This is another, not unlike the work montage at the toy store. This is kind of a, like, what are you doing in this movie scene?
Yeah.
Because it's a complete time waster. It's a complete filler. Nothing important happens in this scene. But at the same time, it's just these kids swearing at each other, and the lines of dialogue are just hilarious. And it's so weird, too, to see these, like, 10-year-olds beat these 30-year-olds in a game of baseball. It's just so much fun. And it's the epitome of just how amateur this movie is, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like they filmed the entirety of the movie and then realized they were, like, 10 minutes short, maybe 15 minutes short.
Yeah, it really does feel it that way, and that's why it's my number 3.
It's a great scene. Again, something that didn't make it into my top 10, but definitely a great scene.
All right, so you said number 3 was Tina, body bag?
It was, yeah.
So why don't you give us your number 2?
Yes, sir. It's the torture scene from Audition.
Hey, we got one in common.
Wow.
This is my number 2.
Yeah, and I mean, I wrote
this was close to
brackets.
being 1. Baseball scene from Sleepaway Camp was close to being 1 also, but I went Godzilla. But this scene is fantastic.
Yeah, in brackets next to my notes are tika 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 tea or whatever she was saying. That's just
I think it's like kitty kitty kitty. I think it starts with the K.
Either way, it's just an awful scene, and she's such a terrifying person and disgusting.
Yeah.
Really.
I'm really including the last 15 or 20 minutes of the movie too, because the scene that to me made this, when I first saw it, stand out as the scariest movie I had ever seen was mostly when the guy shows up and he's missing half his fingers.
Yeah.
He's missing his tongue. If you include that in here too, maybe it should be number 1.
And the vomit too.
I feel good about having it at 2, with my top 2 being the Japanese scenes, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Because this is what Japanese cinema is all about, at least to someone like me. It's about horrific acts of torture and things you would never ever want to see. And it's about people in monster costumes stomping on miniatures. That's the entirety of Japanese cinema.
Yeah, that's great.
I haven't seen any Kurosawa movies. I'm sorry. This is what I've seen.
And I love it.
I mean, I love both movies, obviously, but yeah. All right, so what is your number 1?
This is kind of like I've thrown like 4 scenes together.
Okay, so I was going to guess it's the dick in Sleepaway Camp. That was my guess, but no, it's not that.
No, that would have been a great number 1 though. My number 1 is From the Vast of Night, and I've combined a bunch of scenes together because I couldn't choose at the end of the day. It was the opening long shot of like the main character walking into the gym and meeting Faye and stuff like that and walking away.
Okay.
The switchboard scene with her on the switchboard, talking to Billy in the radio station, and then talking to the old woman near the end of the movie. All
right, so this great podcast on drive-in movies we have, you pick your number 1 as the most artistically ambitious movie we do. That's not at all it's not at all a drive-in movie, right?
Well, I mean, it's got that aesthetic of drive-in movies.
In a way, sure. But yeah, no, I mean, I like the movie, and I really like the scene in the radio station. The long shots in the movie felt a little, look what I can do, I'm the director, to me.
I took that in a different way because he's a first-time movie director. So maybe he was just like, hey, I want to create something really nice and pretty to look at and exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's all well done. I'm not going to fault the movie there.
Yeah, but I mean, the opening long shot, that's everything you want from an opening shot like that. Like, it establishes where you are, all the characters, the town, the people, the era, the switchboard scene. It's just a really interesting, like, 9-minute scene of Faye working the switchboard. It's really cool. Talking to Billy, I'm just...
Sorry, I was snoring. I dozed off.
Talking to Billy, I'm just like glued to the screen.
Billy's scene is the best scene in the movie, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. And then the old woman, too. I was just glued to the screen when she's, like, talking about their town at, like, the turn of the century and stuff and how she had a kid.
I don't like old people.
Yeah. So what's your number 1?
Although they're not as bad as babies, because the worst scene of the season was baby-centric, I will say that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
All right, so how about our top 10 original songs, vocal songs? Because I don't know how many of these were truly original for the movie. But Jim, why don't you start us off with your 10th favorite original song? It's an asterisk because we have no idea if half of these are original.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask, can you guess what it is? It's from one of my favorite movies from this.
It's a killer workout song, I'm assuming, but I don't know which one.
It is, yeah. Aerobicide. It's great.
Okay, I have 2 killer workout songs in my list. This one wasn't one of them, but
wow.
Aerobicide. Yeah, this is played during like one of those montages of
it is,
the softcore pornographic workout scenes.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. It's catchy. It makes the exercising scenes even more funny, and yeah, it's just great.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, this movie is a legitimately very fun soundtrack, even if it fails at everything else it does, which it arguably does. Because number 10 is also, for me, from Killer Workout, and it's Rockin' Rock by Sonny Hilden.
Rockin' Rock.
I don't even remember when this plays, but this has popped up on like my YouTube recommendations every now and then when I listen to...
That's unsettling, by the way, that it's popping up on your
YouTube. The other song from this movie that I have in my top 10 that we'll get to eventually, but this is a fun song. It's just look it up on YouTube. I gave you the artist's name. You have all the information you need to know. It's a very fun song.
Well, a song for me that's also really fun and really catchy. I've actually put it on my phone since watching this movie. It's Long Time Woman by Pam Grier. That's my number 9 for the Big Dollhouse.
All right, this was a good one.
Yeah, it's kind of like a. Would you even be able to call it like a funk? It's kind of like a 70s funk, right?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you what genre you would consider it, because I don't know if it's quite a funk song. I mean, it's not like the Dolomite theme or anything like that. But
no.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's funk. It's kind of like rock and a little soul. Like maybe it's like what Hall & Oates used to call their music. It's rock and soul.
Rock and soul.
Yeah, trademark Daryl Hall, 1981. I don't know.
Is rock and soul like Billy Bass? You know, is it just a fish
Bass.
on the wall?
Billy Bats. That's the Billy Bass. I thought you said Billy Bats, the guy that Joe Pesci beats to death in Goodfellas.
Yeah, I just pictured like like a breaded fillet of soul on the wall singing to you, like Billy Bass.
Good Pam Grier song, not in my top 10. Although the best song that, to my knowledge, that Pam Grier has sung. I don't know if she had a music career or just happened to do the one song, but my number 9 is from a scene we've already talked about. It's The Warm Side of the Door by Morgan Ames, which is the Joe Cocker ripoff sounding song from the work montage in Silent Night, Deadly Night. Mm-hmm. Listen, this one, maybe I shouldn't have this one because it's the scene that makes it. I mean, it's a decent enough song.
That was my number 11, by the way.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. No, I mean, it's a decent enough song. It's not great. But again, just the context of when you hear this song in the movie is kind of what pushes it into my top 10.
This song should be a theme song for like an 80s, 90s family sitcom.
Yeah, I mean, it has that sound to it. Again, it is a Christmas song. Look it up. Or listen to the lyrics. They talk about Christmas a little bit. I mean, because it's like it's always Christmas on the warm side. It's something like that. I don't know. They mention Christmas at least once.
Well, my number 8 has nothing to do with Christmas. It's GI Blues by Elvis. It's just a great song.
It's a fun song. Most of the rest of my list, I think, is Elvis songs. This song is not one of them, though.
Wow, really?
It's a good song. This would be like my 4th or 5th best from the movie.
Now, I like the song on its own. I had the GI Blues record. I gave it to my grandmother for her birthday one year because she loves Elvis.
Idiot.
I know. I love the song on its own. The scene that it's in, I also really like, where they're playing at the bar. The only thing I don't like about that scene is how, like, Elvis is...
It's a bad performance.
Yeah. Like
it's a bad musical performance.
It's a bad performance, but it's also like in that scene, the vocals aren't lined up perfectly with his.
Not even close. And it looks like Elvis is going through the motions.
Yes, yeah.
But I agree. Good song. The song's better than the scene. My number 8 is also a GI Blues song, and it's "Doing the Best I Can."
Okay, yeah.
This is another bar performance. It's not this scene. It's later. But I enjoy this song a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what scene that was. Was that...
I think it's his first song that he performs in Frankfurt, if I remember right.
Oh, okay. My number 7 is also an Elvis song, and it's Shopping Around.
This is my number 7 as well.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's a fun little song. It's just got that 50s vibe, you know?
Yeah. This is one of 2 songs in the movie G.I. Blues that sounds like it's approaching 50s Elvis.
Yeah.
Because Hollywood Elvis was a lot more pop, less rock and roll. But this being his first big post-military service movie, there's a little bit of a bridging of those kind of 2 periods. And this song is a good... It's much more produced than his 50s stuff, but it still kind of sounds like that a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like it'd be on the B-side of like a 50s Elvis record. And you'd hear it at soda hops, you know?
Sure, why not? I don't know. I don't know. I never went to one of those.
Yeah. My number 6 is kind of in that same era, I guess, but I guess actually a little later. It's From Russia with Love by Matt Monro.
Okay. This didn't make my top 10 and probably wasn't that close. I think I would have had Aerobicide above this. It's an okay song. Of the James Bond themes, this is pretty middle of the road for me. Maybe even slightly lower than top half. I mean, listen.
I'd put it slightly lower.
It's miles better than Another Way to Die or Die Another Day. I mean, there have been some bad ones, and this definitely isn't a bad one. But this is a far cry from like Goldfinger or
exactly,
Skyfall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The thing you can say about this is that it's boring compared to most other Bond songs. As you said, like Goldfinger it's just got such a great sound, you know, such a great vibe.
Goldfinger is like, you don't hear songs like that, or you didn't even back then. It's just so unique.
Who performed it? Shirley Bassey?
Shirley Bassey.
Yeah.
Alhough my favorite performance of that song is Alan Partridge when he's strolling over to the BP garage along the along the motorway. Goldfinger. All right, number 6 for me is Killer Machine by the Sex Mutants from Dr. Alien.
Oh my god, that's my number 3.
Okay, this is a legitimately decent song.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Like, for what it is, it's like this kind of stupid heavy metal kind of thing. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, for a musical number that comes out of nowhere in a silly, stupid movie, it's pretty good. It exceeded all expectations.
All right, hit me with your number 5.
My number 5 is Pocket Full of Rainbows in G.I. Blues.
This is my number 1. It's so great. This is notably not dissimilar from Crawfish from King Creole, which I would probably have in my top 10 Elvis songs. It's another duet where Elvis does 90% of the work and the woman will just sing like one word. That's what Crawfish is. That's what this song is. This is not in my top 10 Elvis songs, but this is probably in my top 20 or 25.
You know, I wasn't going to put this on my list because I really didn't like that scene in G.I. Blues. But on your recommendation, actually, I went back and I listened to it. Fantastic song. Beautiful song. Sounds great. Honestly,
again,
gorgeous
Elvis's
song.
Voice never sounded better than it did for this soundtrack, basically.
Yeah. It's just fantastic, and that's why it made it to my list.
All right, my number 4 is Knockout from Killer Workout. This is by Robert Michaels and Lisa Duran. That's what YouTube is telling me anyways, or maybe IMDb whenever I looked it up. This is the song that plays when I almost said Ted Danson, when Ted Pryor's taking out the garbage his first day on the job and he meets that woman who I think is the most attractive woman in the cast. The song starts in that scene and it continues to play as they go on their date and he uses the phone in the backyard for some reason.
Yeah.
And this is it's background music because it's playing like, oh no, maybe that's when it starts. Maybe it starts when he starts styling the phone. I don't remember, but I mean, I'm sure most songs do. It takes us through a bit of a workout montage at some point. But this is a very, very fun song. A lot of energy. It's my personal favorite from the movie.
Yeah, you know, I think I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to the songs you've mentioned from Killer Workout, because I don't really remember them, but I do remember grooving along to all the music. My number 4, not really a grooving song, it's Shocker by the Dudes of Wrath from Shocker.
Oh shit, did we skip number 5? Because this was my number 5. I don't remember saying anything about this.
Yeah,
so
you skipped number 5.
What was your number 5 then?
My 5 was Pocket Full of Rainbows.
Okay, yeah, so I just didn't do my number. This is my number 5. Apologies. Yeah, this is such a fun song, though.
It is, yeah.
It's a super group consisting of people I couldn't give two shits about. There's a guy from Kiss. There's a guy from Van Halen. Like, I don't care because I don't like that kind of music. But this song is just so much fun. And it's a great way to just start the movie. You get that guitar. I love a good movie theme song where they say the name of the title. I mean, it's easy to do when there's one word, but like that kind of, it's the Ghostbusters thing, right? That's probably the best known example. Yes, yeah. But like we kind of miss that. I miss that in movies.
Yeah, there's something so simple but just so perfect.
I feel like Will Smith was kind of the end of an era, and we didn't realize it at the time. Will Smith with Wild Wild West and Men in Black. No. I feel like movie theme songs have not been the same since.
Great song.
Okay, let's do your number 3 then.
I already mentioned it was Killer Machine, so what's your number 3?
Frankfurt Special.
Oh my
Elvis
God.
Aaron Presley.
That's my number 2.
This is the other song from the soundtrack that sounds very 50s.
Yes, yeah.
This is basically the Sun Sessions with a higher cost in production. This is Mystery Train, but with some electric guitar, basically. It sounds very similar to that. Got a rockabilly kind of riff to it. And it's a lot of fun. And this is, for me anyways, this was also the most enjoyable performance. Well, other than the puppet one, of course, other than Wooden Heart. This is one of the most enjoyable performances in the movie.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a fun scene where he sings it. It does have that 50s Sun vibe. And you know this about me, Patrick, but probably nobody else. I am a huge fan of Johnny Cash. Also a huge fan of all of his train songs or songs involving trains. I think trains are a great subject for country music and bluegrass music. And
blues music, too.
Yes, blues music, too. You're right. And I also love this song because of that. I think the Frankfurt Special is a great name for a song. Great subject matter, fun scene, great tune, great everything.
All right, so I have just apparently realized that my number 2 is a song that I had on here twice. So, folks, you're only getting 9 songs from me. Because I had Doing the Best I Can on here twice for some reason. So, I don't know, maybe we want to throw a Robicide in at number 10 and just move everything else up. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's okay. We've already got your number 1, and that's the one that really counts. And that was Pocket Full of Rainbows, right?
Yes.
Well, my number 1 is, I kind of feel stupid saying this, but I just think it's a great song. It's Strange Brew by Ian Thomas, the brother of Dave Thomas. And I think it's just a great song.
I don't think this is in my top 20.
Oh my God. Really?
It's like, it's a song. It's like, whatever.
Well, I got a question for you. Have you listened to the record version only on YouTube or the version from the movie?
I'm supposed to remember? I don't know.
Well, because my dad has the record, so I popped by, grabbed the record, threw it on my record player. Doesn't sound nearly as good as the version from the movie, and I don't know why. Like, I don't know if they mixed it differently or something, but the version in the movie is just fantastic. I love it. It's kind of like a Rush style, or like it's from that like Rush era. You know what I mean?
Oh, so it sucks.
Oh, you prick. Whatever. Strange Brew by Ian Thomas.
I just realized since I only have 9 songs, I've got to make a new number 10 here off the cuff, and I'm going whatever the name of that song is. And it's Sitting Here at Midnight Sitting Here. It's some song. It's a title like that from Phantasm. It's the song that Reggie and Jody are jamming to.
I was hoping it would be Strange Brew, but that's not in your top 20.
It's better than Strange Brew.
Oh, get out of here. That's a great song.
It's a minute and a half long, and it's better than Strange Brew.
Take that back, you meanie.
All right, so we've got 2 lists to go through here still, and we're doing best kills this time. Jim, do you want to start us off with our best kills? I would also, actually, before you do that, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I would like to point out one thing that I consider when doing a best kills list. For me, like a moment of victory when, like, let's say the killer is killed, like, okay, someone is killed, it's a kill. I don't put those kinds of things in this list. To me, these are, because that's like more of a moment of like triumph. That's a different kind of emotional beat than what I'm looking for in these kind of scenes. I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel a moment of triumph when that dude in the wheelchair goes down the Odessa steps in Friday the 13th Part 2. But I mean, you know what I mean here?
Yeah.
Like, because there's a couple scenes here where the villain, there's 2 that I can think of where the villain gets killed at the end of the movie, and it's a great moment, and it like could have cracked my top 10, but I just want it, just in case those are in your list, that'll kind of explain why they're not in mine. I don't know.
I've really only technically got one of those.
Does it involve a corkscrew?
No.
Okay, it's not the one I was thinking of.
No.
But Jim, why don't you start us off?
Well, I just want to say, when I came up with this list, I came up with kills that stuck in my head, that like really stuck in my head.
Just like that machete in the wheelchair guy.
Yeah, don't talk about him yet. He's coming up on the list.
Mine too. Don't worry.
But my number 10 is the arrow through Kevin Bacon's neck in Friday the 13th.
This is my number 5.
Now, see, I have it. I mean, because I remember we spoke about it and you were saying something like, it's not your favorite kill in the movies, but it's
that movie it is. It's not my favorite in the series. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed Jason punching people's heads off on the top of Vancouver rooftops. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this kill is just so neat. I think it was done really well. And as you pointed out, I think like the makeup, or like it looks kind of goofy.
From one angle, it looks incredible. From one angle, it looks silly.
Yeah. But there's also just something so terrifying about a hand coming up from under your bed and grabbing your forehead and shoving an arrow through the back of your neck and coming out the front.
Yeah, it's classic. Is this the only arrow through a neck kill in your top 10?
Yes, it is.
All right, it's mine too. I wasn't sure if you're going to have the Sleepaway Camp one though.
No, I like that though when Hugh Hefner's
That's the best kill in that movie, but it's for me anyways. It was nowhere near a top 10 here. Mm-hmm. My number 10 is Johnny Depp gets sucked into a bed and gets spat up in a fountain of blood.
Dude, that just missed my list. That was number 11.
It's an incredibly goofy kill because I always have a problem with when there's just like blood and it's kind of disconnected from anything else. Mm-hmm. i.e. the Shining elevator scene. Because there's a cut and we see Nancy screaming before we just see blood spit up from the bed. But it's like terrifically creative too, and it's just neat.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time I saw A Nightmare on Elm Street, that was probably the kill that stood out the most for me just because it's unexpected and it's visually stunning. Like watching all that blood just kind of shoot up to the ceiling.
Although it is not the best kill in the movie, and I think you'll agree with that.
Yes, I agree. Now, my number 9, this is one of my favorite kills. It's deaf Father O'Brien being shot dressed as Santa in front of orphans in Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Wow, okay. So you're going for the emotional impact deaths, right? This character we've never met.
Oh, it was so great. The best part about this scene is that it just gets worse and worse as it continues. Like the cops show up, they're calling, "Hey, you stop!" They think it's what's his name? What's his name again?
Billy.
Yeah, they think it's Billy. Stop! He's in front of orphans. They shoot him dead, and you go, "Oh no! This wasn't Billy. This was some poor old priest who was shot dead in front of orphans. That's terrible." Oh my God! He was also deaf, so he couldn't hear the cops tell him to stop.
And it's right in front of Ricky, Billy's little brother, like right in front of him.
Yeah, it's great.
There is something tremendously humorous about that moment, I'll give you that.
Poor Father O'Brien.
So my number 9, the double impalement after sex in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's short but sweet. We don't see a whole lot. There was a lot edited out for this scene, but there's enough. We know what happens. It's pretty great. The idea of it, I don't want to say it's creative because it was done in A Bay of Blood and done better and more graphically there, but just the concept of just people getting impaled together like a fucking shish kebab when they're having sex, like there's something fun about that.
Yeah, and it also like serves to show how powerful Jason is, like how strong he is or something, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
I guess. Or just how physics don't work in a slasher movie. A little bit of that.
Too. Yeah. Cool kill, though. My number 8 is, I'm almost positive, going to be much further up your list than it is on mine. It's Linnea Quigley on Deer Antlers from Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Number 1. I was debating this back and forth between 1 and 2 with something else, and then I realized I forgot something, so this actually really would have been a debate between this being 1, 2, or 3, but I did put it number 1. It's just going back to just creative scenarios in which someone can be killed. It takes a serious weirdo to come up with this kill.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that.
Exactly, and that's the same reason why I appreciate it. It's just such a creative kill. I don't think I've ever seen another movie where somebody's been impaled on deer antlers. It's just really cool.
Get Out. I mean, it's Get Out. He stabs you haven't seen that?
No.
Okay, yeah, no, he stabs the guy from the West Wing with a with a deer head.
Wow.
But yeah, no, it's great, and it's Linnea Quigley being topless in it is like helps sell this and make it memorable.
Yeah.
But to me, this is a top 10 kill regardless of that. Like, it's just so weird and stupid and and yeah, I don't know. But it probably would not be number one. Was she wearing a shirt? I'll put it that way. All right, so number 8 for me is kind of a small one, and it's one that you could easily forget about from the movie. Mm-hmm. But it's a cop's throat getting slit in Shocker.
Oh, I thought about adding that one.
This is early in the movie. This is our first big the raid on Mitch Pileggi's video
hideout thing,
repair store. I don't know. Yeah, he's like an electrician or something. He's got something. Mm-hmm. This is before he's an electricity ghost. so that's why it's kind of like an easy one to forget about, because like so much of the movie happens in the second half. As far as throat slits go, the effects, this is incredible.
Yeah,
it's really, really good.
It actually looks brutal. Great kill. Almost made my top 10. My number 7 is what I've titled The Backbreaker from Game of Death, where Bruce Lee's fighting that second boss guy and just cracks his back over his knee. Such a cool scene. Such like any movie where somebody gets their back broken over somebody else's knee is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I didn't include this. I'll be honest. I wasn't thinking non-horror when doing this list. But that also reminds me of how there's something kind of silly to me about the deaths in that. And especially that was the one that stood out. I guess he strangles the guy with the nunchucks.
Yeah.
And he just chokes Kareem.
Yeah, after blinding him with sunlight.
At some point. But like, I don't know. To me, like, those are just fun kung fu fight scenes that I don't really want to see. I don't know. It just feels weird to have them end in someone dying. Like, it's weird that they're fights to the death because they feel like they should just be fights. I don't know. That's part of the reason I would not have this in there. But again, like I said, I just wouldn't have considered it otherwise. All right, so number 7. It sounds like it's higher in your list, but I'm going Wheelchair Guy, Friday the 13th, Part 2.
That's my number 6.
One of the more absurd deaths in any of the movies we saw. It's ridiculous. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense where the machete comes from.
No.
It doesn't make sense why there are stairs there. And it's just absurd, and that's what I love about this movie. I mean, the Friday the 13th series is a celebration of excess.
Yeah.
And that's what this kill embraces.
In my notes for this, I wrote wheelchair going 88 miles per hour. And it's because when he flies backwards down the stairs, there's that like awkward scene transition where they kind of like
like kind of just like a freeze frame almost.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like he's jumped forwards or backwards in time. But yeah, it's great. The kill is silly, but it's just so unexpected. And I don't think it's meant to be funny. I think we can safely say that. It's not meant to be funny, but
I don't think we can safely say that. I think for the most part, the movie is playing it relatively seriously, but I mean, the movie's having fun with itself.
Yeah.
I think a moment like that is the stairs part, at least, is supposed to be a little funny, I think. Maybe the machete to the face, not so much, but the stairs, they're having a laugh with the stairs.
They're like, look at this wheelchair guy. He's finally going downstairs. But yeah, so that was my number 6. So what's yours?
I'll call it the screwball from Phantasm. This is the silver ball drilling into that one dude's head.
That's my number 5.
And draining him of blood.
Yeah.
So we're going to have the same top 7, just different order, I guess, probably.
I think so, maybe.
Oh, yeah. No, this is so great. It's so creative. It's so absurdly gory.
Yes.
The rest of the movie really isn't, so it stands out. And, I mean, this is our first real introduction to what these silver balls can do, and it's horrifying. It's effective.
Yeah, and there's just something, like, so... I don't want to say, like, benign, because as soon as you see the silver ball, you're like, oh, that can't be good. But there's something, like, so sterile that you have absolutely no clue as to what it's capable of. And then you see those, like, little knives sprout out. And then after they stick in that guy's forehead, and it just starts drilling into his skull, and all the brain and blood starts shooting out the back of it, like, it's just fucking disgusting. It's
Absolutely,
so cool,
yeah.
though. It's so cool.
All right, so number 5 for me was Kevin Bacon. Number 5 for you is the silver ball.
Yeah.
So what's your number 4?
My number 4, I doubt this made it on your list. It's Pyramid Head ripping the skin off that woman in Silent Hill.
Nah, yeah, this is maybe top 15 for me. Definitely not top 10.
Maybe it's definitely my top 5 because I saw this movie when I was a lot younger. But if there's something about it that's just so, like, horrific. Like, he grabs her, rips her clothes off, and then grabs her chest, like her bare chest, and twists his hand and just rips all of her skin off in one tug and then throws it at, like, the church door. It's just so disgusting and brutal.
Yeah, I love the idea of someone being skinned in this fashion, but to me, her being, like, held up CG, it just doesn't work for me the way I want it to. Mm-hmm. It's also not that effective within the scene, because Pyramid Head just kind of shows up, grabs this one woman, does this, and then the scene just continues. Isn't this the last we see of Pyramid Head in the movie, too?
Yeah, I think so. And he only shows up after that woman throws rocks at the creepy lady.
Yeah, there's rock throwing. Yeah, I don't know. This kill just, it didn't nail the landing for me.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So my number 4, and looking at this list, I'm like, how the hell is this just number 4? But I think that speaks to the quality of the 3 that we have above it, because this is one of my favorite kills in any horror movie. It's Tina's death in A Nightmare on Elm Street when she...
God damn it, that's my number 2.
Okay, yeah, well, I mean, it's great. And I'm surprised it's not as high as number 2 or whatever for me, but that's when we don't see Freddy, so she's just pulled up and then towards the ceiling and dragged around, and there's blood everywhere, and it's just so incredible, and it's the first kill of the movie, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it stand out even more. It's because it's the first kill of the movie, and you're like, oh, fuck. Like, what kind of movie is this?
Yeah, and it's not the first scene or anything, because the first scene, okay, nightmare, she wakes up, big deal, but, like, no, this is like, holy shit, we are not fucking around.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, so hit me with your number 3.
That is Frank being torn apart in Hellraiser at the very end.
Yeah, this is my number 3 as well. I was thinking about having this as 1, and then, as I mentioned, I realized I forgot one that belonged in the top 3. So my number 2 is like the new addition, and I was debating between 1 and 3 for this one, with Antlers. But yeah, this is ultimately my number 3 because it's briefer than I remember it being. Mm-hmm. The camera doesn't linger on him being torn apart.
Yeah.
You kind of see it, and then immediately we're with Christy closing the door behind her. And I don't know, if we had seen just a little bit more of that, this might be number 1. But yeah, it's a fantastic moment. It's my favorite moment of the movie.
Yeah, I mean...
Other than maybe the rubber puppet monster attack.
Yeah, the upside-down scorpion.
Yeah, the guy on a dolly track or whatever.
Yeah, no, this scene is just... This is like another one of those brutal scenes because you can see all those hooks through his skin, and his, like, face skin has been stretched, all the skin on his arms
the
have
makeup,
been stretched.
Before he actually gets killed is great. It helps sell this.
Yeah, and what does he say, too, when he dies? He says, and Jesus wept.
Which, I mean, like, it's a classic moment, and I remember it, but I don't know why the hell he says it. I think we discussed this before. I don't know why that line's in the movie.
Exactly, me neither, but for me, there's just something like, it just adds to the kill. I don't know, it's just such a cool kill.
All right, so you said your number 2
was
Tina. I have a feeling my number 2 is your number 1 then.
Okay.
And this is the kill that I almost forgot, and it's the chest burster.
Oh, chest burster. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have any...
You did forget it?
No, I didn't forget it. It's not on my list.
How the hell is that not in your top 10? This is an incredible, incredible moment.
It is an incredible moment. I think it's great. But my problem
is your number 1 going to be the alien hugging Tom Skerritt now? I'm worried. I have no idea what your number 1 is. But yeah, the chest burster is just such a fantastic moment. I think you said back when we were talking about this movie that you wish you could have kind of seen this movie for the first time, not known this moment was coming.
Yeah.
And I agree. It's such a fantastic moment. It sticks out to you, and Alien was far from my favorite movie that we watched, but man, this scene, I mean, there's a couple scenes in this movie that are just like, wow, they did, this is great.
Yeah, I really...
Let's ignore the part where the alien gets pulled up where the little chest burster gets pulled by a fishing line as it disappears. It's just like,
yeah.
Whoop!
I know, like that's what kind of ruins the scene for me, but also fucking Spaceballs ruins that scene for me.
Oh, yeah, I've seen Spaceballs probably once, so that doesn't really tarnish my enjoyment of this.
Well, as we know from our last episode, I really like John Candy, so I've seen Spaceballs a lot. And
I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, he plays Barf.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, now that you mention it, I'm like, oh yeah, but it's like when I think of John Candy movies, Spaceballs is like the 12th I think of,
Yeah, I feel you.
I think of the Blues Brothers first, and he's barely in that.
Yeah, never. I don't want Sister Shrine to be another John Candy episode.
All right, so what's your number one? Because you're wrong in not having the antler kills. Number one.
My number one is Dean Jagger falling off the roof in Game of Death.
Okay, this is fair. Now, I want to say this I actually did consider having, but I think I went all horror. But this is fantastic. This is great. I endorse amazing. This number one pick. I mean, I wouldn't have it as number one myself, but I support this decision.
It's just such a
Dean Jagger dummy. This 95-year-old dummy. He's like the it looks like the I might have mentioned this previously. I can't remember, but he looks like the old Six Flags mascot that I think they used to call Mr. Six or something, where it's just like just like a normal person but with comically old age makeup, and then I guess it's funny that an old man dances like a young person, but that's what this dummy looks like.
Yeah, it's great. It's such an unexpected ending to such a strange movie. Like, fake Bruce Lee falls him out onto the roof. He takes one step onto the ladder and goes, ah! And he falls through like a neon sign. Then the movie just ends. It's great.
Yeah, it's so fantastic. You're right. Yeah, that's a good pick. I can't complain too much about that.
And, and I watched on YouTube the clip of him accepting the Oscar for whatever fucking movie he won it for.
Game of Death?
But no, he's an Oscar winner, for Christ's sake.
No, yeah, I mean, Dean Jagger, it's like a name I know. Like, okay, he was a big deal in like the 1870s or something. Like, I knew he was a big name, but he's not a big name in 1978. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm just.
Oh, so that movie's got 2 Oscar winners in it, because it's got the guy that murdered his wife too.
Oh yeah, him.
Gig Young. Is that the best kill of the season? Murdering his wife.
Oh no. By the way, Dean Jagger won.
Gig Young. Better killer than Jason Voorhees.
Killer for the season. Dean Jagger won Best Supporting Actor in 1950 for 12 O'Clock High. Never seen it.
Oh, that's a Gregory Peck war movie. I've never seen it, but I know what it is.
What I do want to know, though, Patrick, is your top 10 favorite movies from this season.
I had kind of trouble. I don't want to say trouble, but this was difficult to do. And ultimately, I'm going by just how much I enjoyed these movies, not by like how much I think they're good. I think there's 2 movies in here in my top 10 that are genuinely not very good movies, but they're very, very fun to watch. So if you were to follow me on Letterboxd and see because I have a list ranking the movies that we have seen based on their quality, this doesn't quite follow that top 10. It's similar, but 2 big outliers here. And the first one of them is my number 10. Number 10, Shocker.
Oh, okay.
This is not a good movie. It's absurdly entertaining. It's honestly it's a mess. The movie is a mess. It's so weird and it's so like jumbled in what it's doing. It's like, is it trying to be a comedy? Because at times it feels like it definitely is, and then other times it's genuinely serious and kind of threatening and scary. Mm-hmm. It's just weird. But it's also absurdly fun, and hell, this movie made me kind of like heavy metal with this movie's soundtrack, and that's a feat.
That's a great choice for number 10, because I think that on my honorable mentions section of this, I think that was like number 12 or 11, just missed the list. My number 10 is Phantasm.
That's my number 9. Here we go.
Yeah, Phantasm. Just, again, I'd never seen it before. I was just blown away at how interesting it was.
Phantasmatic choice.
Shut up.
Boo. I don't know.
Boo.
No, Phantasm's great. It gets better every time I see it. First time I saw it, it's like, okay, this is good, this is interesting, but it didn't, like, suck me in. The more I've seen it, like, the more I'm just, like, into this movie, and it's weird, semi-surrealism kind of thing. It's sort of semi-David Lynchian qualities.
Yeah.
It's got a great score. The Tall Man is genuinely one of the great horror villains ever, I think.
Yeah, he's so spooky looking. Like, he looks like... What's the name of the butler for the Addams Family? Lurch?
Oh, Lurch, yeah. Okay.
He's like a combination of like Lurch and Frankenstein, which Lurch is like Frankenstein. But you know what I mean? Just with better hair.
Yeah, I was going to say Lurch is... I don't know where you're going with that, but...
Yeah, it's just great.
I don't think we talked about this with Phantasm, but there's no Slender Man without the Tall Man, is there?
Yeah, I have no
clue.
It's
not just the name, it's he wears a suit... And, like, yeah. I feel like every kid who's just like, wow, Slender Man is, like, the scariest thing ever. It's like, bro, just watch Phantasm.
Yeah.
Don't go out and stab your friend 25 times. Just watch Phantasm. It's great. It's a great movie.
Yeah. The other thing I really like about it is just how bizarre it is, like with all the dwarfs and like how they're...
The dwarves are like the one thing I don't really like that much in the movie.
See, I don't like them that much, but I'm interested about the whole fucking the portal in the room where they have dwarves doing stuff.
I'd be curious. Yeah, I want to say the sequels never quite expand upon it, even though they expand upon other things. But yeah, this movie like still leaves a lot to your imagination, which is great. It's got some really effective scares, even the ones that happen in dreams, which are like they usually feel cheap and somehow they really work in this movie.
Yeah.
All right, so what's your number 9?
Well, it's Friday the 13th, Part 2.
Okay. This is not in my top 10, but it's a good one. This is in my upper half.
I was debating whether or not to add this to the list, but I rewatched it and I just realized that it's such a fun movie. Like, between the kills and Jason with a bag on his head and the people just like hanging out at camp. Yeah, decent characters, decent story.
Decent story? There's no story in any of the Friday the 13th. No,
but like shit is going on. Like stuff's happening.
Yeah, things are happening. That's the story. So that was your number 9.
Number 9, yeah.
My number 8 is The Invisible Man.
Oh, that has just missed my list.
Okay, this movie's great. It's really, really great. I've always enjoyed it. It might be my second favorite Universal monster movie. It's definitely up there with some of the Frankenstein sequels. And I like The Wolfman a lot. But no, it's great. Groundbreaking effects. A really great performance from Claude Rains in what I believe is his first American movie and first talkie. Mm-hmm. Like, he just plays the role so perfectly. Like, other actors might have been able to do the maniacal thing that he could do. But the way he is both threatening but also kind of funny, too. I don't think too many actors in 1933 probably could have pulled that off quite as well.
No, and he's also threatening but a gentleman. When he comes in with like the smoking jacket on and stuff. And
yes, well,
please take a seat.
No, he's great. He's Claude Rains. I mean, he's not too many monster movies star someone from Casablanca in them. So you got to appreciate the ones that do. I want to say Bogart's in like The Mystery of the Wax Museum, maybe. And Claude Rains is in The Wolfman. Claude Rains is in a few of them. I think he's in the 1943 Phantom.
And and we can't forget Claude Rains in Lawrence of Arabia. I really like him in that. He's
one of my favorite monster movies. We're talking about monster movies. What the hell are you doing?
Sorry, I just got caught up thinking about Claude Rains. I like him a lot.
T.E. Lawrence is a fellow of Jesus College. He's not a monster.
Well, he did rewrite Seven Pillars of Wisdom: A Triumph to have a Turkish rape scene, so make of that what you will.
We've all been there. All right, so what's your number 8?
Killer Workout, and we all know my thoughts on Killer Workout, so I don't need to explain it. I love it.
I'll say this was in the debate for being my 5th least favorite.
How dare you? How dare you?
I ultimately chose Puppet Master. It was Puppet Master, it was Killer Workout, it was GI Blues, it was Alien and Dr. No. For different reasons. Like Alien and Dr. No, good movies, I just don't care that much for them. Puppet Master, I kind of like, just not a very good movie. Same really as ultimately as Killer Workout. And GI Blues, it was kind of like I couldn't forgive myself if I put this movie in the bottom 5. Unless maybe it was Change of Habit or something, which we'll never do on our podcast. But yeah, no, Killer Workout, I do ultimately enjoy it. It's fun. It sucks, though. It's a terrible movie.
And listen, such an enjoyable,
in the top 10. Movie. I'm just saying my thought process and why it would be in my bottom 10.
Yeah, I get it. But again, it's shitty, but it's really enjoyable. Patrick, you and I could sit down and have some drinks while watching this.
With Killer Workout, you said it looked like the director was trying to make a porno movie and failed. Like, how is that in your top 10, though?
Dude, I'll listen, because it's a hilarious movie. It's a great movie to just turn on and watch. You don't have to laugh at.
That's generally what you do with movies, yes, but whatever. Number 7. It was Killer Workout's partner when we did this way back in our first episode. For me, it's Hush.
Wow. I knew you liked that movie.
I love this movie. It's great. I love Kate Siegel. She's so good in this movie. It's a really great performance. I know I mentioned it has the feel of, and not just because she's playing a disabled person, and we all know the Oscars love their fake disabled people, but like it really feels like if this weren't a horror movie, she would have been nominated for some kind of major award somewhere. And obviously, because it's horror and because it's straight to Netflix, maybe even like most people, critics wise, all that stuff aren't going to give much of a shit about it, but it's really good. It's got to be my favorite home invasion movie, right? It's a genre I don't normally care all that much for, but I really like the main character. Kate Siegel gives her a lot of life, and it's very cleverly directed and cleverly written. It really handles a lot of things early on. There's like reincorporation of a lot of things that we learn about her visually in those first couple scenes. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. It's a great twist on the home invasion movie, and I do like that the movie does tension really well, especially early on when she's on her phone, and then she's like lost her phone, but the killer's taken it. You know, it's she slowly works her way up out onto the roof. Like it's just great. It's a great fun ride that's tense and has a great payoff at the end. My number 7, in sharp contrast, is Strange Brew. I love this movie. I've loved it since I was a kid. I love laughing at it. It's goofy. It's silly. I love the Mackenzie brothers. And that's it.
I like this movie up to a certain point. I think we discussed this, but I kind of, once we get to Superdog, I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, some of the movie is too goofy for me. Most of the movie isn't. I think it is a very funny movie. I do appreciate this. This did not make my top 10. It probably wasn't that close to my top 10, but it's top half, I think.
This list was really hard for me to make because I had like the first 3 movies, like my top 3, I mean. And then everything else I kind of really had to go through and think about. But after I really sat down and thought about it, I just love Strange Brew. I couldn't pass up on putting it in this list.
Okay, well, I could. Number 6 for me, From Russia with Love.
Oh, that's my number 4.
Okay, it's the best. It's far and away we've only watched 2, but it's far and away the best James Bond movie we watched. It's one of the best James Bond movies ever. I would probably have it as my number 3, although I'm curious in rewatching these for this podcast over years and years of episodes when we finally get up to like Skyfall and Spectre and hell, once No Time to Die actually comes out, if that will still be the case.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it. I love the Red Grant James Bond dynamic. I love how he's always there. Bond has no idea he's there, but he's always lurking. I love when they finally meet and fight. It's great. Like the last half hour, 40 minutes is just like all action, and it's incredibly satisfying with, you know, the helicopter scene and everything. It's just a really, really great spy movie. It's great stuff.
Yeah, this is the globe-trotting James Bond adventure, or the first one, I guess. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun, lots of action, like you said. I love the setting, especially of Istanbul, and I love...
and Scotland. That's not actually... it's not supposed to be Scotland, but it's very clearly Scotland.
Great movie. Well, my number 6 is Alien, a movie that you don't like, but I love the aesthetics of it. That's really what it boils down to for me. The whole stranded in outer space with this kind of what is now like antiquated technology on this giant spaceship. I just think it's neat. I love looking at the movie. I love Ian Holm. Lots of great actors, lots of great scenes.
Yeah, the acting's very good, and of course, since we've done that episode now, Yaphet Kotto has passed, so it's worth pointing out. Mr. Big himself.
Yeah, shame.
Or Mr. Dr. Kananga / Mr. Big, whatever. Yeah. Alien to me is the perfect movie to throw on if you want to take a nap. It's very slow. I mean, it has its moments. I recognized it as the second best kill of the season, okay? It's not like I want to shit on the movie entirely, but you're right. It's just not my favorite. Number 5 for me. This is the other one like Shocker. I couldn't possibly argue this is top 10 in terms of quality, but god damn it, is it top 10 in terms of enjoyment, and that is Sleepaway Camp. I think it says something about the 4 movies above this and how much I love them that this isn't higher, because I love Sleepaway Camp. It is so much fun. It's just so wonderful. I love introducing new people to it. I love watching their reactions go from like, what is this, to like, oh my god, this is incredible, you know?
Unfortunately, it's not on my list, but I debated whether or not to put it on this list. Sleepaway Camp is just something that is so strange and bizarre and stupid and silly. Like, it's it's bizarre from the very first scene, as in the people running over the children and father with a boat, all the way up to Angela being unmasked as a man with her penis out, but also literally being masked.
Literally masked, yes. Yeah, no, it's a movie that combines kind of some of the best things of like Tommy Wiseau, some of the best things of like John Waters. And I guess like the best of Sean S. Cunningham, because it's at times it's like a half decent horror thriller kind of thing in the woods. I mean, mostly it's just trash, but it's entertaining trash. And it has that weird creative element going for it too, where it's not complete garbage. There is something creative going on.
Yeah, and it makes it even stranger when you think about it, that there is something creative going on, but like, how did it turn out as kind of garbagey?
The film was good enough to dedicate to the director's mother, so, you know, it turned out pretty well.
Yeah, what does that say about it?
All right, what's your number 5?
Also, not on your list, but I happen to like a lot, Dr. No.
You have, oh no, I was going to say you have this above From Russia, no, you have it higher than I had From Russia with Love, but you said From Russia with Love was your number 4.
Yeah, so Dr. No I love. I just love Sean Connery. One of my favorite scenes that I've already mentioned is in Dr. No. Again, it's kind of like the island aesthetics of the early 60s espionage. It's just something super cool. Ursula Andress. You know,
Ursula Andress is worth pointing out. Yeah.
She's great. I love all the stuff of them moving around on the island.
I find it dull. Not unlike Alien. Is it a good movie? Yeah, sure. But with all the James Bond we've had since, it doesn't hold up to me.
I guess really I'm just a huge James Bond fan, so it has to be on the list for me.
Number 4, A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's classic.
Very good. Very good.
You know, it's the last act has a lot of problems, but up until that point, I love this movie. I mean, overall, I love the movie entirely. Even in the last act, when we get some goofy stuff, we still get Stuntman on fire for like 5 minutes. So it's not all bad.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was amazed by it.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love Nancy. I don't think it's the best performance by Heather Langenkamp, but I'll forgive it. I love the script. It's just such a wonderfully creative idea, and they do there's a lot of neat visuals things that they do. Some of the effects are fantastic, some of them not so much, of course. But yeah, I mean, Freddy's an icon.
Yeah, and this is an amazing first appearance for this icon. Such a classic movie. I mean...
Is it not in your top 10?
No, it isn't. It isn't.
That's surprising me. You had F-13-2 above this. That's surprising to me. That's blasphemy to some people out there.
I know. I'm sure it is, and I don't want to say I'm not sure why. But I think I'm kind of confused at myself. But I think it boiled down to. That like Friday the 13th is, I don't know, like kind of chill.
Oh, I know where you're going with it. There's no nudity in The Nightmare on Elm Street. That's your problem.
No, that's not my issue.
Number 1, Picasso Trigger.
You know my number 4.
Yeah, you said it's From Russia with Love.
Yes. My number 3 is...
I'm worried we have the same top 3 in maybe a different order. I'm really worried. I think 2 of the 3 anyways, but go ahead. What's your number 3?
Godzilla.
God damn it, that's my 1. We're going to have the same 3. I know it. We should have talked about this. Before.
No, this is exciting. This is exciting. Yeah, Godzilla. It's just like the perfect monster movie. It's great.
Yeah, you know, Godzilla is... There's so much genuinely good filmmaking in the original Godzilla. There's such extreme lengths they took to convince you that it's not a guy in a costume that still looks very good today. The black and white helps it a lot. But then even if you don't want to watch the movie from that perspective and don't want to appreciate it as like this testament to the horrors that Japanese people lived through, there's something just incredibly fun about people in monster costumes. I mentioned it before. I mean there's a few different angles to appreciate this movie from, I guess.
The costume looks pretty decent for what it is. The monster, like the Godzilla roar sound, great noise.
Oh, God, yes.
Scary noise.
Incredible sound design.
Yeah, the score is brilliant. The characters are all pretty great, especially Eye Patch Guy, whatever the hell his name is.
Serizawa.
Yeah, Serizawa.
Godzilla vs. Kong. I don't want to spoil anything, but they bring shame upon that name.
Oh, no. I'm going to go see it tomorrow with my girlfriend.
I would just like to point out, I don't want to give too much away because I don't believe you've seen it yet.
No.
And it won't really be spoiler by the time this episode comes out, but like, it's a Kong movie, it's not a Godzilla movie, really. And this is right down to even the respect they pay for like the little nods to characters from the original movies, right? Like Carl Denham, who's the guy that ends up bringing Kong to New York, and he's this asshole, exploitive piece of shit who gets people killed. He gets a university named after him in the movie. Like, come on, really?
Ugh,
and then Serizawa, they make into like this asshole who fucks everything up. Not to give too much away. But especially because, like, even in the context of the series, Ken Watanabe is Serizawa of the recent movies. So I guess this guy is Ken Watanabe's son or something, but I don't know. Serizawa's the hero of the movie. He saves all of humanity, or at least all of Japan.
And it does in such a cool way.
And they treat him like a fucking asshole. And then Carl Denham... Carl Denham's like the sleaziest character in movie history, and he gets a scientific research institute named after him.
But yeah, Godzilla, great. I mean, even the miniatures are great. For
the most part, the vehicles all have some problems, but everything else, building-wise, is great.
Yeah, building-wise, great. Even the jets I love, and when they fire rockets, it's those little fireworks. I think that's amazing. That might be my favorite shot in that movie.
My number 3 is Audition.
That's my number 1.
Yeah, we're going to have the same... We're gonna have the same stupid ass. Audition's great. We've already talked about it a little bit. It's a movie that just pulls the rug out from under you. The movie that you think you're watching for the first hour and a half is just completely different from the movie you watch the last 20, 25 minutes. And both movies are great. Like, you're into the little romance, almost romantic comedy kind of plot, just because the characters are so good, the acting's good. But then when it becomes a horror movie, it's the scariest shit you've ever seen, too.
I'm not even sure when exactly that transition happens, because it just comes, you know, and you're like, oh, fuck.
There's a few tiny hints early, but not, like, enough to really get your guard up.
And the way the characters all speak... It's almost like so genuine, like you're actually listening to real people have conversations. Like whenever Yoshikawa and the main character, whatever his name is.
Shigeharu, I think. Shigeharu and Shigehiko, I think, is his son. Shigeharu.
Okay, yeah. Near the beginning when Yoshikawa and Shigeharu are in the bar together, talking about like Japanese society, and Shigeharu is complaining how, you know, he wants to find a woman because he's lonely and maybe that's what's going to fix his problems. Like, for me, all of the dialogue in the movie worked really well. And just like this world building, character building, it was all great. And
Don't use the term world building for this.
Well, it was.
I hate that word thrown around, and especially for a movie that is set in reality.
Yeah, well, but it's also got one foot in this kind of strange,
one artificial foot.
But yeah, it's got like one foot set in this weird kind of
bizarro world.
Yeah, bizarro reality. You know,
I don't quite agree with you, but hey, it's a great movie. It's one of the most interesting examples I can recall of like Aristotelian catharsis in film, where it's just like those last 20 minutes are like, oh my god. Yeah, I love it. It's a top 150 movie of all time for me, as are all 3 of my top 3. So that was my number 3. Your number 3 was Godzilla?
Yes. So my number 2, which, to be honest, I'm not sure if this actually is your number 2. It's The Vast of Night.
Oh, okay. So we do not have the same top 3. Okay, I'm actually shocked my number 2 isn't in your list.
Oh, my
anywhere.
God.
But, okay, Vast of Night. Yeah. So this, I'll let you talk in a second, of course, but this is a far better movie than it is a drive-in movie. We acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably a top 15 movie for me. It's definitely top 15 in terms of quality. I don't know if it's quite top 15 in terms of just my enjoyment, but it's a good movie. It is very good.
All of the dialogue in this movie is the thing that makes me love this movie. Like, all of the interactions between
slang,
characters.
All that stuff.
Yeah, all the 50s slang at the beginning. Like, there's a line where he goes, I don't remember the disc jockey's name, where he's talking to Faye, and he goes, you know, if you want to be on radio, you got to have, like, a cool, like, radio name. And she's like what? And he's like, 500-watt Faye, Queen of Cayuga. It's just so neat. All the slang that they throw around is neat. All the cars are neat. Their town is neat. But all the dialogue really just sucks me in. All from that Billy stuff to the old woman. I just love everything. The only thing I don't like about it, and the only thing that for me actually kept it out of the top spot, was like the last 5 minutes of it. With, you know, spoilers.
Yeah, you really just reminded me. I did not really care for the ending much of that movie, but I mean, overall it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just such a great movie. I just love being sucked into that 50s world of wherever the hell they're supposed to be. New Mexico, I guess.
So my number 2 is the second oldest movie we've done. It's Frankenstein.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You just forgot this movie. This would have been in your top 10, right?
Well, I was going to put a Universal Monster movie in, but I wanted to put some other stuff in, so maybe I did forget it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, well, I think there's a debate, but I think this is the best of the Universal Monster movies that we did. I think Invisible Man, strong contender. Dracula, not as much. But yeah, Frankenstein's great. It's short. It's to the point. It's got some outstanding performances from Colin Clive, who's really convincing as this kind of mad scientist guy who believes in what he's doing. And Boris Karloff, again, I know I mentioned this, but you don't realize how good he is as the monster until you see other actors play the monster in a far less convincing way.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Lon Chaney Jr. or Bela Lugosi or whoever. And yeah, it's just a fantastic movie. It just tells its story so well.
It does. And, you know, the only reason I can think of as to why I left it off this list is because, one, I like the Invisible Man better. The Invisible Man, for me, has a better pacing than Frankenstein does because Frankenstein is constantly cut up by the fucking old Baron von Frankenstein. That old turd.
And not just that, but I think The Invisible Man is a bit more... Just 2 years later, we're seeing the art of filmmaking has advanced just a little bit, I think, even.
I'm thinking even, like, with Dracula, I don't think Dracula had that same pacing problem that was directly caused by characters that Frankenstein did. Though I do like Frankenstein more than Dracula.
No, the closest we get to the Baron in Dracula would be the Cockney guy.
Yeah.
And he's not that bad.
No.
He probably doesn't have as much screen time as the Baron does.
I must have just forgotten about Frankenstein, because that should probably be on the list. After The Invisible Man, though, of course.
Hey, I had them both. There's room.
No, I want to put Killer Workout on there.
I mean, you had Dr. No in here.
I did, yeah. I like Dr. No.
And so just to remind everybody, your number one was Audition. My number one was Godzilla. So we're going double Japanese here.
Easy peasy Japanesey.
These are the only two Japanese movies we've gotten so far, too. We haven't had a Godzilla sequel yet. We haven't had a Gamera movie, which I'm not really looking forward to Gamera, but it'll happen at some point.
I really like doing this. I like sitting down with you and not knowing what you were going to say. It's fun to compare lists and see how similar.
Plenty of similarities, yeah.
Yeah, there's also plenty of differences. I just want to thank our fans, anybody listening. Thanks for putting up with us. Thanks for following along. And this is the end of our first season. And hopefully you're going to join us for a second season.
And that new season will be brought to you by the website Grandma Sophia's Cookies, where we will be joining the Grandma Sophia's Podcast Network. We should have plenty of exciting things in store for the near future. Look for us to return in the late summer or early autumn. We're just going to be switching our feeds over to a new website, so if you're a subscriber, that should not change anything. But as always, follow us on Twitter for updates, and we'll keep you posted.